Gutmoyed, right?
Right.
So this is the second of the 6 orders of the Mishnah. Deal with the special days of the Jewish year, the Shabbos, festivals and fast days, and the laws and activities relating to them. These laws are varied. The tractate of this Seder deals with the forbidden labors of Shabbos, the less stringent prohibitions of the festivals. The less stringent prohibitions of the festivals, the intermediate days of the festivals, Chol HaMoed, the temple offerings of the festivals, the special festival mitzvahs such as Pesach, Seder and Matzah, the Sukkah and 4 species, the Shofar and prayer order of Rosh Hashanah. So that's what the Seder Moed is discussing. In general, the special times. Shabbos, going to Shabbos, the laws of Shabbos, primarily when it comes to Shabbos, we're going to speak about primarily the 39 biblically forbidden categories of labor, melachos, and the additional precautionary prohibitions imposed by the sages. So, how do we get to Shabbos? How do we know about Shabbos? The Torah says, Zochor es yom Shabbos lekatri. We said in the Kiddush every Shabbos, Sheish es yom ta'az yom melachtecho. Remember the Shabbos day to sanctify it. 6 days you shall do work, perform all your labors. But the 7th day is Shabbos to Hashem, your God. You shall not perform any labor. Book of Shmos, Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 8 to verse 10. So we have in the 39 melachos, we have what we know as Ovis, the primary laborers, and we have the Toldos, the derivative laborers. And we'll go into the Mishnah.
I'll tell you after this one.
Yetzias HaShabbos 2 shein 4.
Transfer.
Yetzias HaShabbos. The tractate opens with a discussion of the forbidden labor of transferring an article from one domain to another. Yetzias HaShabbos transfers prohibited on the Shabbos. 2 shein 4 bifnim are of the 2 types that are in reality 4 in regard to a person standing inside a private domain. Soon see what does it mean. 2 shein 4 bifnim, u2 shein 4 bachutz, and of 2 types that are in reality 4 in regard to a person standing outside in a public domain. Let's look at number 2. First of all, number 1, it says the melacha, labor of transferring with which our tractate begins, and to which this disproportionately large percent of the tractate is devoted in comparison to other 38 melachos, is actually enumerated last in the Mishnah's list of the 39 melachos, Haitzah. So Tosfos is discussing it, why such length, and why the tractate begins with the discussion of this specific melacha of Haitzah, of transferring. We know there are 2 types of domain, which is Reshus HaRabim and Reshus HaYochid, public domain, private domain. What is considered transferring? You have to have akira and anocha, you have to uproot something, and you have to rest the article. That's the completion of a melacha of Haitzah, of transferring. You have to have akira and anocha. To uproot something, pick something up and put it down. That completes this actual job of picking and resting. That's what it means to transfer something. In number 2, it says literally going out. Yetzias HaShabbos, literally going out, although this term would seem to apply only to cases in which articles are taken out from a private domain to a public domain, the Mishnah uses it to refer also to cases in which articles brought in from a public domain to a private domain. So it goes either way. The term goings out is thus to be understood as taking out of an article from the domain it occupies to a new domain. Accordingly, even if an article is brought in from a public domain to a private domain, it was still taken out of its original domain. So the Mishnah uses the term Yetzio, is literally going out, rather than the more grammatically appropriate form Oitzois, taking out, to more closely mirror the language used in biblical passage, because it says Aliyetze ish mimkoim v'amishvi, let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. Rabbis interpret in Eruvin to mean that no one was permitted to go out of his encampments in the wilderness while carrying a vessel to gather the man. So in 3 it says there are two types of transfer from domain to domain. Two types of transfer from domain to domain are prohibited by the Torah to a person standing within a private domain, and 2 more types were added by the rabbis for a total of 4 prohibited transfers for the person standing in the private domain. So within a private domain there are 2 prohibited transfers, and within a public domain there is also 2 types of transfers that are prohibited. Total of 4 prohibited transfers for the person standing in a private domain. Let's see. And the Mishnah will describe how is it 2 that are really 4 inside and 2 that are really 4 outside. Ketzad. How so? The poor man is standing outside the house. Try to picture someone knocks on your door. Poor man, he wants you to give him something. He's standing outside your house. Outside your house is a public domain. And the householder, you, standing inside in a private domain. The poor man extended his hand to inside the house. And placed an object into the householder's hand, or vice versa, or that he took an object, or he took an object from the householder's hand. The poor man is liable whether he placed an object in the householder or he took an object. Why? The Oni is chayav because he did akira and anacha by uprooting an object in a public domain,
And the
taking
Balabait only did
and
one.
placing it in the balabait, in the householder's hand.
In the Yachid.
Now, if he is standing outside in public domain and is extending his hand and taking something from the householder, so he again doing akira from the householder hand and he's in a public domain. Once he rested, he will be liable.
Right.
In the first case, the Balabait only put something in his hand, just extended his hand. He only did the first part. He didn't do both.
Even if he rested again.
Seems like the householder is always more passive.
Yes, more
Even
passive.
if he has something in his hand, the guy's taking it or placing something in his hand. So it says, the poor man is liable and the householder is exempt.
Okay, so listen, you probably think, what does it mean to be liable?
Will be discussed.
We're going to get there, don't worry. I knew you'd be thinking about it.
So the Mishnah says, Poshet Baal Habayis Yod Lachutz. If the householder extended his hand outside, right? Now it's the other way around. You standing inside your house, opening the door or the window, and you extending your hand outside. You are in a private domain. Your hand is in a public domain. And he places his hand. He placed an object into the poor man's hand. Now the poor man is passive, and the householder is active. Or he take an object from the poor man's hand and brought it in. The householder is liable, and the poor man is exempt.
Who's more active is the
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 Baal
household,
Bayis.
he's putting his hand out,
He's not only putting
more
his hand
active.
out,
The
but
object.
he's also placing an object or taking an object.
placing it.
Posha Tonis Yodalifnim. Now, if it's a hybrid case, that the Oni was active about extending his hand inside the house. But if I'm holding an object inside the house and I'm not placing it in your hand, you're taking it from me. So I was active and you were active.
Right.
I actively extended the book into your house and you actively took
Same
the book
time.
from it. I didn't rest it on your hand, you took it from my hand. It says, "V'notal ba'al habayis mitech." Or the householder placed an object into the poolsman's hand and the poolman brought the object out. Shneim petum, both are exempt. Why? Because they did not complete the akira and anacha. Each one did one.
half.
Yeah. Po shet ba'al habayis es yoda lachutz. The Gemara obviously will discuss all the different reasons why he's potter in this case, why he's chayav in the earlier cases. Po shet ba'al habayis yoda lachutz. If the householder extended his hand outside, v'not alone mitoicho, and the poolman took an object from it, or the poolman placed an object into the householder's hand, and the householder brought the object in. Shneim peturim, both are exempt. So,
We finished the Mishnah.
yeah, what time is it?
Okay, it's 10 to 9. We got time for the whole lot now.
Let's do halacha.
And then we can,
God willing,
then we
continue.
can go make some money.